Hello and welcome to Chat with Dr. Kat. I'm Dr. Kat. It is great to see you today. Today we're going to be talking about self-confidence, something that is really, really important for all human beings to be able to have, experience, and practice on a daily basis. But oftentimes, we got to look at why we don't have self-confidence. Is it something that's happened in the past in our life, or is it something kind of naturally happening within our own biology of who we are as human beings? So let's look at that. I think it's a combination of both. Actually, I know it's a combination of both. A little bit here, a little bit there. But it does get to the point where you have to decide for yourself. And I say have to because if you want that to change, you've got to be able to make that change. Everything that I tend to speak about is about wanting to create change. Everyone has that power to change, even if we're locked into a place that doesn't feel like it's being allowed. So if any of you would like to, before we get started, so if anyone would like to be a guest on the show, let me know. Go to chatwithdrkat.com. Let me know if you would like to be a guest. If you are an expert of any kind and would like to join me, please let me know. So let's get moving on with self-confidence. What is self-confidence? Self-confidence is a feeling that you are allowed to accept compliments. You feel good when you walk into a room. When you've worked hard on, say, a presentation at work, you know you've worked hard, you know you've done the research, you've put in the time, and you walk in, you could still be a little nervous, but you feel like you know what you're doing. You can walk into a room, a very busy room of people, crowded with different types of people, and you walk in confident, knowing that you're going to be okay. You're able to make friends. These are all things that come along with what we see as self-confidence. Let's look at why maybe it's not happening. Here's an example I use all the time. You walk into a room, crowded, not so crowded, but you walk into a room with people. 10 people say to you, "Wow, Kat, you look great." "Oh, okay, thanks." One person looks at me like this. 9 more people, "Hey, Kat, you look great." Who do you think most people are going to be thinking about? The wonderful 19 people that said you look great, or that one person that gave you the up and down look of negativity? More than likely, it's going to be that one person. Why don't we celebrate and feel great and have joy around the fact that 19 people thought we looked great? Why do we give all the attention to that one person? That one person that maybe the contact was popping out of their eye, maybe a glare of light got into their eye, or maybe, in fact, they were giving us the once-over. But why do we give that person all the power? Well, there's a couple of reasons that naturally kind of goes on in our body. If we look at ourselves historically, way, way back as human beings started to evolve. Now, bear with me with this because some of it's going to sound a little funny, but when you think about it, it really is true. When we're in fight or flight, okay? And say again, you walk into, say, the forest. You walk into an open area outside in nature, okay? And it's glorious. It looks beautiful. You're just kind of taking it all in. That's the positivity. We're in a relaxed state, okay? We're enjoying it. We should be able to enjoy that. Now, you walk into that same open field, and far off into the distance, but not too far, we see a bear, okay? Instantly our body, right? It goes into this, oh my gosh, there's a potential of us getting into a situation. It's a negative response, which quickly gets us into problem solving and into action planning. So the brain goes into this immediate attention, and your entire brain lights up with problem solving and getting out of that area due to the negative influence that's around us. Now, if we look at our brain too, the amygdala, that's a part of our brain that tends to ignite when things come in negatively. So it starts getting into what it has to do. Again, problem solving, measuring out risk, all of those different things. But when it's something positive, it doesn't go into action as much. So our brain tends to react more when negativity comes in. So that is a physical reaction that we have. So on a daily basis, we should be programming our brain to take in positivity. Now, I've mentioned this to you before in another podcast, another episode of it, where I walked out of my house and I looked up and I saw this tree outside my home, and I looked at it and said to myself, wow, when did all the leaves fall? It was bare, completely bare, not one leaf. The next time I felt like I looked up, the tree was filled with leaves again. Now, that told me a lot of things. One is I'm not taking the time to soak in nature. I'm not taking in the time to literally smell the roses. I'm not taking time to look up and enjoy what's around me. Once that happened to me, I don't really do that ever again. I made a choice. I walked out. I enjoy nature. I tell people that I work with all the time, enjoy nature. Some of your best joy can be going outside in a garden, going outside, maybe stopping for a minute. I always ask, when was the last time you saw a butterfly? When was the last time you saw a fuzzy caterpillar? I have to tell you, becoming an adult and everything else, I stopped seeing fuzzy caterpillars. One of my favorite things as a child was finding a fuzzy caterpillar and letting it walk across my finger. It wasn't until my youngest daughter found fuzzy caterpillars everywhere. And I remember her first one called Diamond, named her Diamond. It was the most spectacular thing. After that, we started seeing fuzzy caterpillars all over the place. I remember one time we were even in Yosemite, and we got to this one area where there were people biking, but it was slower. There wasn't a lot of people. And she noticed that all these little fuzzy caterpillars were trying to make its way across this little narrow area. And she was worried that they weren't going to get across. So we started picking them up and putting them to the side of the road. A memory that I'm going to have forever, because we took the time to look at nature, and oftentimes we do see it through children's eyes. I do have to say, I haven't seen a fuzzy caterpillar in a while. I think I'm going to challenge myself to go and find a fuzzy caterpillar. You know, these moments where we take the time to find things, this builds confidence. It trains our brain in order to have more positivity. More positivity promotes better accountability for ourselves, more vulnerability, and that positivity brings on more confidence. If we're allowing our brain to constantly be negative in our relationship, negative in our friendships, negative at work, negative in home life, negative going out in nature, it reduces our self-confidence, because then it's no one likes me, horrible weather, my family doesn't appreciate me. It goes on and on and on. And all of that becomes a domino effect. So here are some things that you can do to combat what is natural within us, okay? Go out in nature. Number one, go out every single day. Take 30 seconds to breathe in outside, okay? Look up. Look around you. Are there butterflies? Are there birds flying in the air? You know, the other day it was funny. One of my family members was talking about the amount of birds versus human beings on the planet. It's huge. So let me tell you, you're going to walk out, you're going to see birds. There's going to be birds around you. Now, maybe there's a few areas where there's not due to extreme cold or something like that. But for the most part, the majority are going to see birds. So go out and see a bird. See it flying. Now, if you have an issue with birds or have a fear, look for butterflies. Look at the trees, maybe gently swaying in the wind. Look at flowers. Right now we're in summertime. Look at the flowers. Look at the flowers. Stop. Look at flowers. Maybe you're at a grocery store and you see the area where there's all those flowers. You don't have to buy flowers if you don't want to. Smell them. Look at them. If you are able to purchase flowers, purchase flowers. Maybe go out in your garden, get flowers. And this is for men and women. Go out and enjoy. Here's another thing. When someone says to you, wow, your hair looks great today. Wow, I love what you're wearing. You look beautiful today. Wow, there's a glow. You look amazing. Say thank you. Not, really? God, I thought I was having a bad hair day. What? Oh my gosh, I didn't get any sleep last night. Oh, I feel terrible. Glow? Come on, stop it. No. This week only, I'm going to challenge you. Take the challenge, the confidence challenge. Say thank you to every compliment that you get. And here's the other side. Give at least 1 to 2 compliments to other people in your life. Anything. Find a compliment. If you're in a situation right now where you're isolated, maybe you live in a very rural area, maybe you're not feeling well, you're recovering, give yourself compliments. If someone's a caretaker coming in, compliment. If there's something you can look out in nature, out your window and say, wow, it's a beautiful day today. Universe, great job. You can always find a compliment. What that does, it starts practicing positivity, because with everything I had said before, that instinct, fight or flight, instinct of the amygdala, taking in and our brain becoming active with negativity. We have those instincts. We have those things that are going on physically in our body. So it's something we have to combat. Here's another thing you have the power to do. Say you leave your home, your office, and somebody cuts you off. You're angry. Or maybe you just wake up angry, right? Something's going on hormonally, something's going on in our body, something happened at home, you leave negative. I can almost guarantee the rest of your day is going to be horrible. Why? Because you feed the negativity. Oh, see, someone cut me off. Oh, you can go on and on. Or someone cuts you off and say, you know what? Maybe you got to get somewhere. Rather than thinking someone's entitled, which may be the case. But maybe they're racing to get to the hospital because a baby's being born. Maybe they're racing to the hospital because somebody is dying. Something is happening. Give them the grace. Let them go. Why? Because it's going to make you feel better. Change the story. We don't know who that person is, so you actually have the power to change the story to being positive. Why is it okay for us as human beings to settle into the negative? Why is it okay for us to just take the negativity? Again, we're structured that way, and we feed into it. So challenge yourself. Allow yourself to be free. Allow yourself to be free to feel great. Be free to make the choice to be kind to other people. When you're kind and allow yourself that, it starts to feed off of each other. One last thing. I remember I went into a hair appointment and I sat down and I was waiting and I really had an open day. I was doing a lot of just kind of self things for me. I had time to, do whatever I wanted to do. It was really just a pampering day. I sat down. This woman walks in, and she says that she has an appointment with my hair stylist, with my hair person. And she goes into a tizzy because they said actually her next appointment is here. She was convinced that she had made the appointment at that time, booked the rest of her day because she was traveling. So I'm sitting pretty close to the person who's going to be doing my hair. And she says, gosh, I am so sorry, but I booked you at this time. She looks at her phone and she says, oh my gosh, I got it wrong, but I've booked everything and I'm ready to fly out this afternoon. I'm listening to all of this. I stood up and I said, you know what, why don't you take my spot? And I looked at my hair person and I said, what time is her time? She goes, it's actually not for an hour and a half. And I said, okay, I'll be back. The woman stood there, started to tear up, and she says, why are you doing that? Wait, what's going on here? She really had this physical reaction. She was like, what? You'll do that for me? And I said, sure, of course. I said, we have an opportunity for human beings to come together and help. And I know I was a little bit cringe, but I wanted to have this moment. And my hair person looked at the woman and says, she really promotes kindness. She's kind. That's just who she is. I looked at my person and I said, thank you. Thank you for saying this. She goes, you're very sweet and you're kind. I took that compliment in. I could have said, oh my gosh, stop. But I said, thank you. Thank you. And I looked at the woman. I said, now take a few moments. Enjoy getting your hair done. You're not off schedule. And I said, have a great day. And she goes, thank you so much. I left. I came back and the person who does my hair says, hey, she wanted to pay for your hair. And she says, what would you have wanted me to say? And I said, she doesn't need to do that. Just kind of pay it kindness forward when she has another opportunity to be kind. And she goes, okay, that's what I told her. And I said, well, I'm glad you did that. And, I try to have these moments where I can be kind, and hopefully it becomes a domino effect. But it's a choice. It's a choice. It wasn't a big deal for me to leave, but I was already there. That was my schedule for the day. Did I really want it disrupted? No, I was having a nice day. But then I felt good. I became emotionally charged from it, but I made that choice. So I'm challenging you all. Accept compliments. Give compliments. And the other thing is, when you have an opportunity to be kind to somebody, do it. All of this builds confidence. You will walk away from an encounter and just feel good. Maybe you're paying for somebody's Starbucks in line that's behind you. Maybe you see somebody you see somebody that's coming, to give tickets, and somebody's meter just went out. Maybe you pay it forward. Maybe you leave a note on somebody's car that says, hey, have a great day. Sometimes people getting these little things, now you're helping build their confidence. Okay, now we've talked about a lot of different things today, why it happens, physically what goes on. And some of these things to some of you may feel a little hokey, a little cringy. I get it. But once you start getting into the rhythm of it, it's going to be uncomfortable initially. But once you start getting into it, you are going to feel better. Your brain is going to start becoming trained to be more positive. You're going to combat the negativity. You're going to enjoy because confidence builds up. So things going on in your brain are going to light up differently because now it's a regular occurrence. This is how we create change. I hope you accept the challenge. Have a great day. And again, if you'd like to have any comments, responses to what I'm saying to you, please let me know. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, go to chatwithdrkat.com. Would love to see you. Have a great rest of the day. And before we go, I just want to let you know you're beautiful. Have a wonderful day.